This is One Move at a Time, and I have a guest here today who was recently elected to the executive board, Daniel Serna. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate being here, and thank you for having me on.
So, how did you get your start in chess?
So I actually started playing chess after watching The Queen's Gambit on Netflix during COVID. I was an avid golfer, and shutdown stopped me from playing golf, and I needed a new hobby, and chess was free, and it was available online, and I was a smart guy, and I said, hey, I'm a smart guy, I'm going to go beat everyone, I can get to master pretty quick because I'm smarter than the average bear in my mind, just like all chess players, that's what we believe. And I said, this would be great. And then I had my first over the board night at a chess club after COVID ended, and it was very humbling playing 6 or 7 kids who were between 6 and 8 years old, who were also just starting, and get crushed by every single one of them. And I think I ended up with one draw against a 19-year-old and a win against a 21-year-old, and lost to every kid under 10. And that was my first rapid night at chess. Very humbling, and I had to decide if my ego was strong enough to let me continue to play chess or if I would give up. And, I stuck around and kept playing, and here I am.
And I think that very much is the modern struggle of an adult learner, so to speak, is can you stomach the constant losses that you're going to have in order to get good?
Yeah. And not just that, but losing to middle schoolers, they add the extra salt in the wound afterwards because that's just how they are made.
Oh, of course. So your first tournament was in 2021, and you came out with a rating of 639. But your peak is 1687. So that's a pretty significant jump. Tell us about your journey as an adult improver, and what do your study habits look like?
Sure. So I consider myself a true beginner. I learned the rules of chess when I was a little kid and maybe played a couple games at home with my dad or brother that I remember, but I never played in a school chess club, never did anything. So I knew the rules, and that was about it. Came back later in life, and said, hey, I needed this. I wasn't someone who was 1800 in high school and joined, so I had to start from scratch. I reached 1400 after about a year. I broke 1600 a year later, so within my first 2 years playing, I was over 1600. And a lot of it was just from just being obsessed with chess. I was excited. I loved it. I consumed everything. YouTube videos, every live event on Twitch. Chessable came out about that time, and man, that was my best friend for a lot of stuff. Chess.com, just playing tons of game and doing those things. And so before I got to 1,000, I was about 800 rated pretty quickly, and I've played competitive sports previously, so I knew the importance of a coach. So I got a coach at a very early rating at about 800, and I wanted to make sure I learned good habits, and I did it right, because it's a lot worse to unlearn bad habits and do those things. So I said, hey, I'll do the right habits. It helped a lot. It helped me avoid a lot of beginner mistakes, like focusing on openings too much, which no one does, obviously.
Okay.
Not enough tactics puzzles. No one ever does that either, and of course, playing a bunch of chess and not actually studying and improving chess. Yeah, I avoided those things. So I learned the right things to do by not focusing on the openings, did a lot of puzzles, put the work in and did those things. And so that was it. I got up to 1250 before I stopped working with my coach. Due to work at the time and travel and things like that, I wasn't able to keep up my schedule. So I just started working my own at about 1250, using the things I'd learned and everything. And that's where I focused. I created a curriculum for myself. Here's what I'm going to study. Here's what I'm going to work on with just a few books. And that's what I use now. So I actually watched a video from Coach Ramesh from India. It was like a 2-hour long video. You can probably find it. It's like what to study in chess outside of your coach. And it's basically your coach is great to have, but what should you be doing on your own? 95% of grandmasters never had a coach in their entire life. So what are they studying? And so we broke down everything. It was a 2-hour video. It's fantastic, and I used that to really consolidate. Made a curriculum. I actually use it for my students as well, which is really good. But I actually I'm more of a tech guy, so I use a lot of technology, probably more than the regular person. So Chessable creates my openings. So I have great courses. I punch those into chessbook.com to make sure that I'm studying at the appropriate depth, and I'm not overstudying lines because not every line has to be studied to a certain depth. And so that will help that. Middle game practice. My favorite book, I recommend it to every player from 1,000 to 2,000, or even 2,200, is Chess Strategy for Club Players by Herman Grutten. As I've told my students, before you get halfway through this book, you will get to 2,000. My first student getting to 1,900, he's at 1932, and he is almost halfway through the book, so it's on track. And my other students, about a third of the way through the book, are about 1,750 or 1,400. So it really does check out. You got to learn basic chess strategy and positional play. 100 Endgames You Must Know. Those two, that's the only two books you need, up to 2,000 in my opinion. Do tactics, puzzles, play chess, and that would be there. I don't get to play over the board as much as I like because I am busy running my club, President New Mexico Chess, U.S. Chess now, and of course, as a husband and father, there's a lot of demands on my time. But I would like to play more. But I do get to play about 40 to 50 games a year, maybe at most, although I would like to play much more. And so I have a club night. We play 25D5 every week. I get to play every other week most of the time. We have a monthly G60 that I play every month on a weekend. It's a one-day tournament, and then two-day tournament maybe every few months outside of that. And so unfortunately I get big gaps where I can't play as much. Downside of being an adult improver is having adult responsibilities. Good part is having adult money, and you can afford books and you can get those things, so that's kind of nice. So I do that. So it's just trying to find the time to do that. I'm about 2,800 puzzle rating on chess.com, so I still do a lot of tactics. And I'm a little rusty, but trying to get it back, just like every adult getting out there. Good news is I don't have to worry about graduation or college or anything like that. I can just cruise control my adult life, and maybe by the time I'm 40, I can get up there over 2,000 or be a cool national master like you, Brian.
Well, is that the goal long term?
And the long term goal is to be a national master, to get there. No time limit, just I want to get there someday, just like everyone else does. And a lot of it from talking to title players is just putting in the work. There's no shortcuts. There's no way you can get there faster other than you need to master the game of chess. The 7 key areas that you need to learn, master those, play by the book. If you do that, national master is not crazy. When everyone's playing by the book, that's when chess gets hard because you have to be creative, because they're not, making mistakes, and you got to find intricate lines or novelties or things or uncomfortable positions and play the player. But up to that point, you just got to learn chess. That's it. Crack open a book, learn how to play chess.
So coming back to not being able to play as much, I want to highlight this is something that's important to me, that when I'm looking at our executive board, I see service members in the chess community first and foremost, and you have rated 170 tournaments since 2021. What type of impact do you feel that's had in your immediate community?
Yes. So, like I said, trying to play, but the challenge I ran into when I first started playing was there weren't a lot of events in my community. They ran about 3 or 4 large tournaments a year, and that was it. That was the entirety of New Mexico tournament chess. So if you played that, you got maybe 20 games at best for the entire year. That was very challenging. The clubs were more casual, maybe played a rapid game or something, or did those things, but they were more social. Nothing was really competitive. And so I created a chess club for that reason that met weekly. That's the Albuquerque Chess Club. And essentially my philosophy was, well, if there's no tournament for me to play, there's no tournament for anyone else. And so I can't play if I don't create it. So I created the club to make the tournaments for players, and hopefully someday train other tournament directors to run it so then I can play. It's a little bit of you got to put the horse before the cart. So you can't play a lot of tournaments without tournaments to play. And someone has to do it first. And if there are not a lot of tournaments in your area, someone's got to do it first. And the cool thing is when you do it, you'll attract more players, and there will be players who just want to direct tournaments, and there are players who want to play, and so you just got to create that. So we've grown it, we've tried new things, we focus on development and competition, so it's rated every Thursday, it's free to play, so it's accessible for new players to get them in playing rated chess with US Chess. And so I think that's been huge for the community. We didn't have a large community, it's very small but very tight-knit when I first started, and now I think I looked at the numbers, and in the last 2 years, the number of unique U.S. chess IDs that have played a New Mexico chess event is like almost 1,000 in 2 years. And so we didn't even have 1,000 people playing chess, but people would travel and we'd get new players and we'd bring people in. And so, driving new members and bringing them in, that facilitated growth. And so once players are competitive and they saw chess was fun and they weren't worried about their rating because there's a tournament every week, so you don't have to worry about losing 20 points because you have 3 more before the month is over. Players just started playing and getting competitive, and then you kind of create this arms race with players where they have those friendly rivalries, whether it's kids with their friends or adults with each other that say, hey, we kind of go up in rating together, and you have that arms race together, and it helps you both improve. And so creating a larger community, I think, has really driven a lot of that. And it's really exciting. So I really enjoy directing tournaments, and I'm happy to do that, and I still do that. I've completed all my criteria for senior TD. I just need to take the test. Then I plan to get my FIDE, my national arbiter after that, because it's good to be able to set that example and model that for other people so that they know what to do. And so that's what I do right now. So we grow our players, and we had a great invitationals. New Mexico, we're not the big guy. We only got about 2 million people in our state, but we took 22nd overall at the invitationals by state rankings, which is pretty cool. And in the Southwest, which, is our own little friendly rivalry, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Utah, Colorado, we were number 3 behind Texas, who took first, Arizona, which was near the top, and we beat Colorado, we beat Utah, we beat Nevada, we beat Kansas, we beat Oklahoma for our state versus state at the Invitational. So we try to improve every time, and then get little bits here and there. So we have friendly rivalries, and that makes it fun as well in the regional setting.
And I wanted to highlight and give a shout out because tournament directors who are making a profound impact, I don't think we sing their praises enough. And providing the opportunities to consistently play, every player who has a huge upward rating curve played 30 plus weekends a year or so many rated games on a weekly basis. When I got started, for the first 3 years of playing, I was the most active player in Alabama, or top 3 from statistics from decades ago that were posted.
It was like 5 years ago, Brian. Come on, you're a young guy.
The ACF website. And I wanted to highlight what came to my mind immediately was Cesar Lawrence in Alabama. Had he not been traveling around, and he still is doing it to this day, hosting so many tournaments, I wouldn't be a chess professional today. And that's something that I really, really want to emphasize and thank people who are giving the opportunities, because you are definitely making a difference.
I absolutely agree. The first thing I do any tournament when we do our awards at the end is, first things first, big thank you to our chief tournament director, because without them we would not have tournaments. And get everyone to applaud and give them the recognition so they feel special, because it can be a thankless job sometimes, or a stressful job, and they get beat up and do a lot of work, but man, they are the critical piece for our tournament chess and our players to play rated.
So moving to another question, what is your most memorable chess moment?
Oh man, so my favorite moment actually is, it seems less exciting, but it was exciting for me. I always chose to play up because I wanted to focus on rating and improvement and growing. That was what was important to me. I never played for money. I never played to win sections. I just wanted to be the best I can. So a lot of second places, a number of times where I was board 1 in the final round, maybe lost and missed out on, taking first. Tons of under prizes, because I'd play up and outperform my rating and do those things. But last year, actually, at the 2024 New Mexico Open, I finally won a section for the first time. It was the under 1800 section. I was 15-18 rated with a ton of players, 1700, 1600 and above. And I actually took first place with a first round bye. I took a first round bye because I had to remember to go to the bank and get the prize money. So I lost a half point there. But I had 1 draw, 3 wins, 4 points total, and my final round was beating the person who was 4 out of 4 going to the last round. to tie them for first place. And that was really exciting for me because I had never done that before. And it was a very tough turn. I think we had like 30 players or something like that in the section. And I was not the highest rated. I was nowhere near the highest. I think the class prize was under 1,500, so I almost qualified for the class prize. And I tied for first for the section, which was really exciting.
So how did you get into governance? Because I know you're president of New Mexico Chess, but how did that door get opened for you?
Sure. So I have always been in business management my whole life. I've worked, when I was young as a teenager, I'd get up to management roles, assistant manager. I've been self-employed for many, many years now. So business management has been a natural role. I was usually fall into leadership roles and do those things because I enjoy it and I just gravitate that direction. And so the tournament director at a club I was playing at was running for president of New Mexico Chess to replace another president. And he said, hey, I need a right-hand man who knows stuff, how to, run stuff. Would you be willing to be the VP? And this was like my first year in chess. And I said, sure. I don't know if I have an experience. But he's like, no, you're the VP. You don't have to do much. Just be there, help us run the organization, and I'll do the stuff. And I said, great. And so I ran for it, and I actually got it, which is pretty cool because I had made a lot of connections and social connections, meeting people and talking, being friendly to everyone. They said, hey, we would like that guy to be president or vice president. And so I did that. I wanted to give back to the community. I thought it was a great way to help. So I did that. And then I was reelected the next year for vice president. Cool. And then after that, I was elected president and then reelected last year again for president. So I've been vice president or president since essentially my first year in chess. Going straight into governance. I don't think that's the normal trajectory for most people, I guess is what I'm told. But I like it. I like giving back to the community. I like helping people. I like the ideas. And, as we've talked, just finding new ways that you can grow the sport. You really just got to love chess. I play chess because I love it. I go to tournaments because I love it. The rating going up and those things, that's great. I love it if that happens. But ultimately, I'm not going to be that player that if I got to 2,200, right, where I just stop playing, say, oh, I got my shiny title, I'm going to put my plaque on the wall, I'm never going to touch it again because I'm afraid to lose my rating. I would keep playing because I just, if you love swimming, you just get in the pool. So I get in the pool for better or worse. And sometimes it's not great for my rating because I didn't study and I didn't play, but man, I'm going to be at that next tournament. I'm going to enter and try to do my best. And sometimes I donate a lot of points to underrated teenagers and elementary school kids who then take all my points. But you know what I do? I go do it again. And then I do it again. And that's what I like. So I really enjoy it. I have a long-term vision for New Mexico, and that's really helped a lot. And as I've said before, as long as the people will have me, I am happy to serve the community and work towards growing chess here and now nationally.
So from nationally, and I'm just following the natural progression, you got on your state board, then typically that's when you find out about the delegates meeting and then committees.
Yep.
So you went through that path, and I'm curious, what motivated you to pursue a role on the executive board?
Yeah. So after I became vice president, actually very early, right off the bat, they also said, hey, by the way, next year there's a delegates meeting. We need someone to go. Who can go? And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'll go. That sounds like fun. I get to play chess maybe and go see how that goes. I had no idea what a delegates meeting or what it was. They just said, we need someone to represent New Mexico. And I said, sure. And so I went and had an amazing time. I went just for, I think, one day of the workshops and the delegates meeting because I didn't know. I went there early I think I played like the 4-day schedule or something like that for that, or a 5-day schedule. So I wanted to play chess and do that. Well, I really enjoyed the workshops. I enjoyed it. I had fun. And then I went to the main delegate meeting, and it was so amazing. And when I see this, people say it's a lot of work or doing these things. I have found that I've learned more about chess, more about running the state, more about how I can help the community through talking to the other leaders of chess around the country. And that has made a huge difference for me. Mentors and leaders who have been doing it for decades. And that experience is what I really tried to just absorb and bring back to my state. So I went there, I enjoyed it. I said, wow, this is awesome. Became a delegate, did that for a couple years. This is, I think, my 4th year as a delegate now that I came. And there's an executive board. I think they had an election 2021. right around there, 2021, 2022. I think it was right around there. Yeah, they just changed it. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So we had the elections, we put the new people on the board. So that's kind of cool. And I said, hey, in my mind, as a new person, I said, I would like to do that someday. I think I could do that, especially VP of Finance. As a licensed investment advisor, I said, I could do that. That sounds fun. However, I'm a new guy, and that guy's been doing it for decades, so I probably have a long way to go before I can contribute in that manner. But I'm going to start now. And so every year I would go early. I'd go to the workshops. I wasn't on a committee my first year, and I still went to the workshops and all the trust meetings. And I don't know if you've been to the trust meetings, but they are not the most popular workshops for most people to go to. But I was front and center, and that gets attention really quick. So from doing that, talking to the people on the executive board, and not being afraid to just talk to them like people. And I remember my first delegates meeting, I went up to everyone on the executive board and said, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Daniel. I'm from New Mexico. And just introduced myself. And everyone was so friendly and welcoming. And that kept me coming back and wanting to do more. And I really want to continue to do that for others. And so, yeah, I just worked on that. I decided I wanted to run. There was a spot that was open. It was for the VP of Finance. And I kind of just ran and said, hey, I have this. I have ideas. And once again, if the community will have me, I'm happy to serve. And if not, if they think someone else is a better fit, then I support that. And in this case, they decided to choose me and said, hey, we would like you to be this position. Through the years, I've gotten to know people, and it was a real humbling experience to see that the country of chess says, hey, we believe in you. And I didn't get a lot of votes from New Mexico because we're not a big population. So I had to do a lot of work elsewhere to get those votes. And I really did appreciate it from everyone who spoke on my behalf and believed in me. And so just actively involved in those committees and work. And now here I am doing an interview with Bryan Tillis.
So let me ask you, because you haven't had a lengthy stay in your position so far. So you're barely getting your toes into the pool at this point. But if you had to come up with a pressing challenge that U.S. chess is facing, what would it be, and how do you plan to potentially address it during the term? Because, I mean, we all know how campaign promises are, and what reality is for the executive board for most of the audience is the majority of time is having to deal with the things in chess that are unsavory. A large percentage of time is dealing with complaints and potential major issues.
Yeah, so, one area I talked about a lot, and U.S. Chess, first of all, has a great vision for the future. We see a vision, we have a growth, I love it, we have a trajectory, and membership growth is number one, critical to our mission. We need more members. By statistic, I keep quoting it, I quoted it on the campaign trail, and I keep bringing it up, is that there are 13.5 million regular chess players in this country. 13.5 million, that's any chess. Casual chess in the park, chess.com, over the board, everyone. There is no reason 10% of those people should not be at least over the board members in U.S. chess. Because that's a reasonable amount. Will we get all 13 million? That's a lot. We'd be really good if we did that, but I don't think so. But the reality is a competitive 10% would be there, and they'll play and work on it. We need to reach them. And one of those areas that I've noticed is it's a lot harder to become a member and come into U.S. chess and stay a member than it is to, have your membership expire and move on. So I want to help streamline those processes, number one. We need a lot of outreach to these communities. There are a ton of people who don't even know U.S. chess exists. They play chess and don't realize there's a governing body for our sport that then leads to an international body. And some actually know that there's an international body because they watch Twitch, and they go, oh, wait, we have a chess federation too? Yes, every country does. That's that little flag, and that's us. And, oh, what do I do there? You got to find a club. Oh, and it's shocking. They're like shocked by this. And so we definitely need to outreach. We need to market chess. We need to market not specifically chess, but U.S. chess to everyone, and not just chess players, but everyone, to know that chess is a viable extracurricular for their kids. It's a pathway to grow skills as kids are developing in school to help with their resumes. All of those things can help grow chess for where we are. And so Campaign promises going back to the executive board. Well, I've already had a couple board meetings and introduction and onboarding, and yep, we do have a lot of judiciary roles with safe play and other things that we have to handle, and that takes time. FIDE, we have to do FIDE things. I didn't come on with any capacity within FIDE, but FIDE is a large part of what we do, and we have to be active and make sure that we are doing what we need to do to be a good national federation for the international community as well. We have to address all the various, players that we have in different communities, women, girls, senior, military, all these areas, and make sure that we're meeting those goals, areas that I had not previously been involved in. And so now I am. I have to have some level of involvement and understanding of those areas. And those are ways that we can grow this. But I do see that we can grow membership because that is a large outreach for everyone. And I do think that's an area that I don't think I will run into much pushback. If we are on that boat of pushing membership, I think everyone wants to push the membership up, and I think we can get some new heights. For me, 1.5 million is the target goal, not 200,000, not 150,000. I'm thinking much bigger. 1.5 million members is where we need to get to, and with big goals, if we miss by a little bit, I think we'll be all right if we only hit 1 million members.
So I'd like to move to developing chess talent and increasing grassroots participation. This is going to be a major goal in this process. And what practical steps, because you've got direct experience in this at this point, do you envision to support local clubs, organizers, young players from US Chess?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, we need to streamline our processes and make it easier to fall into US Chess than fall away from US Chess. And one of the big areas that we can really grow is non-players. What does that mean? Well, tournament directors. There are plenty of people currently in chess and outside of chess that we could bring in, and they want nothing more than to do what we talked about, which is to create a great experience for players, to host a great event, enforce the rules, and do that. They don't need to be masters. They don't have a desire to be a master. But man, they want to run a great event for kids, for seniors, for girls, for all ages, to have a good social club where people can have a great time. There are plenty of people like that, and we need to embrace those people and bring them in. Training more tournament directors is going to be really critical. And as we want to grow and keep this game going for longer than the 500 years it's done so far, and maybe for another 500 years until a new chess rule comes out, we need to get younger generations involved, not just in playing, as we said, but actively participating. I'm a young adult. I am a millennial, and we need more young professionals, millennials, Gen Z, participating in governance in their local level, at their state level, and of course in the national level. And sometimes that just involves asking them or talking to them or letting them know it's okay to do that. And those are goals you can have, because it's not just, chess is set and we aren't going to do anything. No, we're always growing. We're evolving every single day. Just from COVID until now, chess has evolved a lot. You've been in chess much longer than I have, Brian. And I bet you will agree that from COVID until now, post-COVID chess is different than pre-COVID chess. It's a whole different sport in a lot of ways, and in good ways. And there are plenty of opportunities to continue to grow chess, to do those things, so that way we can succeed. And more adults, more young adults, more non-players, that outreach is the foundation that will then create more tournaments for players so they can come in, and more governance so we can bring skills to develop chess and improve. And those areas, just rising tide raises all ships, is the way I look at it.
So to close out the interview, what advice would you give to someone looking to make a meaningful impact in the chess world, whether through governance or organizing or community development?
It is a very complex, multi-step process that starts with just get started. I'm kidding. Just get started. Do something. Find a club you like. Ask how you can help. Go to your state board meetings and say, hey, how can I help? Plenty of states need people to volunteer to be delegates to represent their state at the national level. You don't have to be the president or vice president. They're not always available. And many states would appreciate someone going on their behalf just to help represent. And you can learn so much from those things. Volunteer, come to the U.S. Open, is a great opportunity. Find a committee that interests you as a delegate and participate and see how you can find a special interest that means something to you, and you can put that forward in chess. You don't have to do everything in chess. You don't have to do the whole, chessboard. You can focus on one square. And if you focus on one square, that'll make a huge difference.
So let's dive into this interesting game that was played in 2022 at the ABQ Rio Ranchero Open. And white is Daniel at 1300, and his opponent is roughly 1200. And we start with best by test, and we get a perk pretty quickly out of the gate. And here is one thing I like to recommend. It really depends on stylistic choices and what you're going for in the opening. As most players, I would say under the rating of 1600, are choosing to play knight f3 here. But they miss a number of the major themes in that Karpovian, slow, methodical style of play, whereas it is far easier with white to play a system with an early f3, especially if you're an open Sicilian player, as after bishop g7, bishop e3. White's plan is going to be similar to, say, the Yugoslav attack, where we're going queen d2, castling queenside, and we are throwing pawns at the king. Black is often delaying castling here to avoid the attack, and is starting expansion with either c6 or a6 to play b5 on the other wing. With opposite side castlings, you have these types of attacking positions. But if that's not your cup of tea, this game analysis is going to be for you with knight f3, and we get pretty straightforward development. The main line is castles, castles, but after c6, castles, castles, we are back in the main line. And it should be noted, if the very thematic looking b5 is played, time and time again there's going to be a memory marker through this game that you can protect yourself with e5, with aggression. Because after takes, in this case, knight takes, this backward c6 pawn is going to be a weakness for this foreseeable future. And if black plays, say, knight f to d7, because moving the other knight would hang the pawn, we have f4, and we have such great square control and room to improve with bishop f3. So keep that in mind with playing against b5. So back to the main game with castles. a4 is what is played in the database, number one choice, and it's just restricting play. And after knight b7, h3, another move, just restricting play, that Karpov style of chess. Now after e5, here's a line showing just the positional nature, takes, takes, and queen d6, with the idea of swinging the rook over to d1 and having lasting pressure in the position. In the main game, we had bishop g5, and the author notes that the idea was to play queen d2 with a potential battery. But in this type of situation, unlike f3, and the plans where we have a rook supporting the push of an h-pawn, in this type of position, with the rook on f1, we're not going to have a follow-up attack, so very often, this isn't a trade we're looking to make unless we have some sort of follow-up. It's going to end up being trading for the sake of trading. The opponent goes h6. We definitely don't want to go bishop takes f6, bishop in the open position, so we keep tension. And after g5, this would be best for black, as it is a position that's getting open quite quickly, and black could get full equality by going after the bishop pair. In the main game, black played rook e8. And very often we're going to be looking at when is the right time to play e5 for white. Because rook e8 is signaling that, or telegraphing the punch, so to speak, that e5, he's wanting to play it. So We continue with queen d2, connecting the rooks, finishing development. Nothing wrong with that. And black should definitely be looking to play for e5 and get some squares for pieces, like bd7, for instance. But king h7 is played, and I think this was worry that wouldn't be able to take back with the bishop if bishop takes f6, but I would have no problems after knight bd7, for instance, because I'm just covering f6 if I want to capture back with the knight, and it goes along with the plan. So king h7 is unnecessarily passive. h3, good move, preventing any of black's pieces from going to g4. Knight bd7. And an interesting move by white, g4, to take space on the king side and start an attack. And e5 should definitely be played by black. You know, the expansion of the wing is typically met by a strike in the center, but g5 was played, and in the long term, it's going to end up being the dynamic of the open squares on the f-file, which will be everything. So bishop g3 was played to save the bishop. And after b5, we're back again. What was that earlier memory marker? When we see b5, what moves should we consider? Hopefully you said e5, because if e5 immediately, we've got takes, and this time we take with the pawn, and after knight g8, white has lasting pressure here with rook a d1, and black's going to be struggling. In the main game, though, we missed this aggressive opportunity. We played a3 to prevent the push of b4, and after bishop b7, again, the same theme is there with e5. Really want to emphasize this e5 concept, because if you're playing this line with white, you can't be missing e5. After bishop b7, bishop d3, finally, somebody plays e5, takes, 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 and centralizing and getting full control with rook a d1. Black shores up the pawn structure to potentially be able to play c5 later, and white does the same. Knight d7, and here, if you're a pause your video type of person, what did white miss on this move? All right, I gave you a moment to pause. Here, we have the tactic bishop takes b5, where we're simplifying the position. In the main game, though, white was focused on trying to control key squares with b4, and black was routing the knight to the wrong square. He went to b6 with the knight. Going to f8 is going to give you a path to have a knight on an excellent square. But knight b6, bishop f2, and we're already eyeing the improvement of this knight to come around. Queen c7. And this is a stutter step which definitely helps the opponent. Queen e3 is played, and one-move threats have one-move solutions. We should go ahead and play h4 immediately to get the attack going. But queen e3 was played, hitting that knight, encouraging it to go back to where it came from, improving it. So after h4, we've got f6. This move hurts me as a chess player. Whereas, if we would have played bishop f6, this is going to be far stronger, supporting, and after captures, the bishop would be quite useful. So after h4, f6, king g2, the knight is coming around, loading up everything on the h-file, and finally, the rook is where it needs to be for the attack. King g6, probably king g8, trying to get out of the way would have been better. Knight e2, knight's coming around. Both knights want the key squares, and here is the moment. After h takes, black just needs to capture back, but saw the opportunity to give a check, and it's going to end in disaster. See if you can find the path that white found after knight f4. This is a last opportunity to pause your video. All right, let's keep it going. Knight takes f4. Most forcing move. e5 check with the discovery. Now, queen takes f4, netting a pawn and keeping this vicious attack going. H takes g5 was played, hitting the queen, but another beautiful move, which finishes it e6. Black resigns.